Hello, everybody. Good to be with you as always. So, today I'm going to tell you something that could fundamentally alter everything that you're doing if you're not awake right this minute. You're not already awake. Furthermore, I'm doing this on Zoom because my other recording software didn't seem to be working very well, and this is a little bit of a pain to record on. So, if I screw up in the video, you're going to see it. And in other words, I'm not going to start over another video in order to do it. You'll just see me screw up, and then I'll pause and bow and start up again. So what in awakening sessions, I never actually tell the person, so now you're awake, because it's unnecessary. I ask them questions, and then they come to recognize that awakening, that what we call awakening has occurred. Now, but there's no awakening that actually takes place. And I don't mean that there's no awakening for the seeker, or there's no awakening for the absolute, or anything. I mean, there's no awakening for anybody whatsoever. And it is the language that we have used around awakening has really kept people in the bushes for not just centuries, millennia. So the language that we use is, we say, he's awake, she's not. I'm awake, he's not. He's awake and I'm not. There's no such thing as a character. It's no such thing as a human being that is awake. And there is no such thing as a human being that is unawake. There is no such thing as a separate human being, period. It looks like it. I get it. I understand. I just put a shirt on this thing that looks like an individual unit, but it's not an individual unit. It's all part of oneness. So when you hear people say, gee, you'll never find this thing as long as you're seeking, that's as true as anything as anybody's ever going to tell you about awakening. If I tell you that you're already awake, and I know how annoying that is because it was annoying to me too, but that is also one of the truest things that anybody, it's true, it's very true-ish. It's not quite true. This isn't quite true. Nothing anybody's going to tell you is something that's quite true. I saw a video the other day that started out with, and it was actually a pretty good video, but the beginning of it was just, the guy said, what you're going to see and hear now is the truth in spoken in words. And it was like, oh my God, how are we going to do this, right? Because you can't say it in words. But I forgive him. It was a good video. I understand what he was talking. That it was a faux pas. I'm not accusing him of not being awake. I'm just saying it was an unfortunate choice of language, because we had to be so careful, because people follow what teachers say so closely that we can easily be misunderstood, and we can easily misrepresent something by accident. And accidents occur all the time because we use reasonably sloppy language in this field. Because to not use reasonably sloppy language would just absolutely bore you to tears. Because then we've got to go to that non-dually correct language, which is that, well, over here, I can't say I because there's no I. And if I say I, he'll say, oh, he's not awake because he's saying I. And what he really means is that over here. And there's no one awake. And I get emails on crap like that. And it's just ridiculous. So, are you trying to find fault with what I'm teaching, or are you trying to wake up? So you can find fault with anybody's teaching, because it doesn't mean they're not awake. It just means that on that moment, perhaps their use of language was not as sharp as it might have been. So this idea that you're already awake, that's very truish. The problem is that it's misunderstood who it is that's awake. Because what we think is, the reason we don't think we're awake when we think, we should be, is because we're waiting for the unit to wake up. We're waiting for the meat to wake up. We're waiting for the character to wake up. I mean, I'm not signed up to get Fred enlightened, right? And sadly enough, that never happened because there's no enlightened Fred. But there is an authentically awakened teaching vehicle that you're welcome to call Fred. I'm going to call it Fred because it's just got to call it by something. I'm used to Fred. So if somebody comes up behind me and they say, hey, Bill, I'm not going to turn around. But if they say, hey, Fred, I'm going to turn around. But I'm not turning around because I think that I'm limited to this single unit. I'm going to turn around because that's what units do in that situation. That's the practical thing to do. It's meeting relativity on its own level. Which means I'm turning around. Hey, what? Ramana Maharshi would have done the same thing. Hey, Ramana, yeah, what? Nisargadatta, yes, sir. So the problem is that when you split hairs with non-dual teachings, generally speaking, you split the wrong ones. And that's just the truth of it. And I did too. I get that. I really do. And I sympathize with this. I was a seeker for 24 years. I was not a quick study at this. Probably just like you, who've been on this path for maybe 3 years, maybe 5, but probably 10 or 20 or 30 or 40 or 50 or 60. I haven't hit a 70. I haven't woken up anybody that was on the path 70 years yet, but I have woken up more than one that was on the path for 60. So this thing is completely obvious, but only in hindsight. You can't see it going in. You just only can see it, once it's already done. So the reason that you will hear this phrase that is that you'll never wake up as long as you're seeking. I heard that and it just drove me nuts because it was like, I can't find it as long as I'm seeking. Well, I mean, what? So what to do now? Where to go now? What am I to do in this situation? And I mean, I know there's no doer, but what am I supposed to do? So what I'm telling you is that, what I did at that time was this is honest to God's truth, is that I tried to pretend that I was not seeking any longer. Okay, that's it. I give up. Did you hear that, God? I'm giving up. I've given up seeking. So now show yourself. I mean, it was just about that ridiculous. I really thought that if I could pretend to, because I couldn't stop seeking, you'll notice that you can't either. Not in the way that you think you have to, but the way that you think you have to quit seeking is not the way that you have to quit seeking in order to wake up. I don't know why people haven't. I don't know why I've never talked about this before, and other people don't either. I don't know why it's not talked about all the time. I mean, a lot of what I do is really, really obvious stuff. It's logical stuff. It's obvious stuff, and it just seems to push certain buttons so that stuff happens. But you don't have to listen to this. I mean, you can listen to somebody else. You can reinvent the wheel. You can do it the long way, the hard way, whatever you want. That's fine. And you are welcome to misinterpret me. And for that matter, you're welcome to talk bad about me, because I know that if you're going to anyway. I may as well bless it, because I don't really care what you think about me. I mean, Fred does, but not even Fred doesn't care that much. Because there's nobody over there. And I know that. It's an empty unit with empty opinions about another empty unit. So back to stopping seeking. I woke up a very charming young woman in England last week. Well, so we had an awakening session and she woke up. And she woke up very clearly. It was not an easy session, but it was a pleasant session. She was very nice. And she woke up in about an average amount of time or so. So, but when she woke up very clearly. She was a little slow in waking up, but she woke up very clearly once she did. Very clearly. And one of the things that she said to me, she just looked at me and she said, "Oh, it's not really awakening, it's noticing." Well, I mean, how many times have you heard me say the word notice this and notice that? Not more than about 8 million, I'm sure. It's it may be the most used word in my vocabulary other than I and me and mine. But the way that she said that, I mean, it wasn't like I never knew that. It just meant that the way she put it together was just so simple. And that's what I love, is the simple stuff. Because the really complex, big-headed thing, book learning and all that, and it just doesn't work. You can may wake up in spite of that, but you're not going to wake up because of it. So what we want to do, we want to notice who it is I'm talking about when I tell you that you're already awake. And we want to see what it is that stops seeking and starts to noticing. So when people tell you that you're already awake, I know what most people think. You'll think what I thought, which is that, well, they're talking about this. And I knew when I was told, "Fred, you're already awake," I mean, I knew that was bullshit as it came out of their mouths, because I knew that I knew, number one, that I was this unit. And given the fact that I was this unit, the easiest, that I was a Fred Davis and a Fred Davis was this unit. And given the fact that this unit, that I knew the unit wasn't awake, that's what the hell I had come to the teachers for, was to wake it up. Right? I got a recalcitrant unit here, wake it up. And then they had the nerve to tell me I was already awake. But they weren't talking to this. They really were not, because I, awakeness, am not this unit. What I mean by that is, on one level, within the level of relativity, I am everything. So I include this unit. I don't exclude this unit. But I did when I was a seeker. I was thinking that oneness began maybe an inch and a half outside of my skin. And that I was looking for oneness, and that I just couldn't find it. And it was all this crap was in the way. But see, all the crap that's in the way, that's oneness. The noise that you're hoping is going to die down so that you can concentrate on finding oneness, is oneness. The activity that other people are doing that you feel like, if they just don't shut up, I'll scream, and I'm certainly never, ever going to be able to spot my true nature. That is your true nature. That noise, that activity, it's all your true nature. Because you're not that unit. And I know that you know that on some level. But the problem is, the level that you probably know it is not really very helpful. Because I had a guy last week that came to me and said, that I already know that there's no Bob, Fred, so there's no point in our going over that. But the one who was saying that he already knew there was a Bob was Bob. And that does you no good whatsoever, other than as a general philosophy. It's a fine thing to follow. It's very useful. Surrender to what is, or whatever. I mean, that's great advice. It's great advice practically. It's great advice for a unit if it could only take it. But a unit cannot surrender to this, because a unit is resistance itself. This is resistance to space. There is conditioned space and there's unconditioned space. This is conditioned space, and we could say that it's not really the air, but just for the sake of languaging, we'll say. and this is unconditioned space. So this is resistance to that. But that's only if this is within relativity, this is resistance to that. That's the way to put that. Because it's only in relativity that this conditioned and unconditioned space. Because in truth, there's nothing but unconditioned space and appearances, and that's what this is. This is an appearance. And the thing over there that thinks it's a Bob or a Carol or a Ted or an Alice, that is also an appearance. And when I say it's an appearance, I mean it's an appearance like this is an appearance. What is that like? See that? That's what you are. That's the truth. See how quick that came? And how do we know that that is an appearance and not something that's, quote, real? Because the light didn't used to be here. The light is here, and now the light is not here. And that's the very definition of if this was a spiritual experience, that's the very definition of a spiritual experience or any other experience, is that it's not happening, it happens, and then it's not happening anymore. That's what experience is, spiritual or otherwise. And what this is an experience. Not for this, but for you. This is an experience for awakeness. Call it oneness if you want. Oneness is true until it's not, so we may as well say oneness. I teach you oneness first, then I'll unteach it to you later. So call it God, call it Tao. See, you're looking for Tao, but you are Tao. You're not anything other than Tao. How do I know? Because there's not anything other than Tao. It just isn't. When you look around here, you're looking at the face of God. But the one that's looking at the face of God is God. You ever heard somebody have that spiritual awakening? Oh, Fred had a very powerful spiritual awakening. And I woke up, and everywhere I looked, I saw the face of God. Well, here it is. I mean, I thought it was going to be like 1,000 TV sets or something with God faces on them. Whatever a God face looked like. I don't know what I really had no concept of how that could be. That's a little bit like Closer Than Close and all those things that don't make any sense until they do. But once they do, they make very profound sense. And they're very, very clear. They're clear pointers, but they just rarely work. You know, the thing is, but they're very good for assuring that awakening has occurred. So I want to talk just pardon my language, because this may not be your language, and that's fine. It's not really mine either, but it is some language I sometimes use because it's good shorthand. So I'd like to talk to God for just a minute, please. And you can tell God that this is God calling. And the good thing is that God will always hear God. So even if you're not understanding this video, I guarantee you something over there is getting it on one level or another. This is one of the reasons why repetition is the mother of clarity, is because there's so much occlusion in the diamond that you are that the light can barely get through. But as the light gets through, it tends to displace occlusion, so that now there's more and more room for the light in the diamond and less occlusion. You are God, but you're looking for God, and that's your whole issue. You're looking for God, and I know exactly what you're doing because I did it for decades. You're looking over here, you're looking over there, you're looking behind you, you're looking up, you're looking down, you're looking in India, you're looking in Peru, you're looking in wherever, Australia, you're going out running with the Aborigines. It's you're looking because you think they know something, that they got something you don't. Well, you're God. There's no possible way that anyone has anything that you don't, because there's not anyone but you. It will look like multiplicity, diversity. This unit doesn't look like your unit, but that's because we're talking about oneness here. We're not talking about sameness. God Almighty, what a boring world. I mean, if Betsy looked like me, I wouldn't know. I would never have married her. Hell, I would have never gotten to the hand-holding stage. If Betsy acted just like me, I would have never married her. I want something that complements what's going on here, not something that duplicates it. How boring is that? So we're talking about oneness, not sameness. And when you're seeking, let's just notice that you're always looking away. And it feels like this guy or this woman is looking out this way or out that way. But this is actually a camera. It's a camera that's always been misidentified by you as a photographer. This is just another object in this room. The difference between this object and this object is that this one is softer. And this one won't be around nearly as long as that one, because that one's already been around longer than this one, I guarantee you. It's a Chinese antique. This is an American unantique. So what you have to do is stop looking. The other day, I woke up somebody in satsang, somebody I'd never seen before. It was great because I had my audience of 30 of my closest people and a new guy, and I woke this new guy up in satsang to the amazement of everybody, which was great. It's fun to show off, including that guy from whom I got an email last night saying, I won't be with you this Sunday, but it was wonderful to be with you, and thank you so much, and he will be back the following Sunday. But one of the things that I said, and I got very sharp with this guy, very sharp. I mean, it freaked out. I think there was another new person there in the session, and I think she left. I think I made her too damned uncomfortable. The funny thing is, the guy that I was hammering didn't leave. He didn't just click out. He stood there and he took it. And I told him yesterday, because he came back to satsang yesterday, that trust me, everybody here respects you. You got a lot of courage. And he did have a lot of courage. And he really wanted to wake up. He was reluctant to wake up. He was reluctant to recognize the truth because it was not easy. It was difficult waking that one up. But he did want to wake up. How do I know? He stood there and took it because I got sharp with myself. Because my job is to wake you up. My job is to do what works with you. And what works with this person ain't going to be what works with you. And what works with this person ain't going to be what's with you. That's the reason they say something like a method can't work, but that's because they don't have the living method. And the living method works on everybody. Or anybody that is willing to tell themselves the truth. And what is the terrible, terrible truth that people are so reluctant to tell themselves? There's no Fred, there's no Bob, there's no Tom, there's no Carol, there's no Alice. You're just God. So the way that we would say it, the way I usually say it, is that the unit does not wake up, the meat doesn't get enlightened, the Fred character, which cannot be found, is a totally make-believe thing. And if you think it's not, get an awakening session. I'll show you that. I will show you that. I guarantee you. And once you recognize that the character can't wake up, and the meat, because there's no character, but the meat can't wake up, the body can't wake up, what's left? This perhaps? If I wipe language from your mind right now, because the Tao tells us that the Tao that can be named is not the eternal Tao. That's what the Tao Te Ching tells us. First line. He could have quit right then. First line tells you everything you need to know, but you can't really get clear from that first line. But that's the money line. So if I wipe language from you for the moment, I mean, after all, there's just one of you. Do you think you really need language? There's nobody for you to talk to unless you want to talk to yourself and pretend that you're talking to something else. And you can do that because it'll be a different appearance, but it'll be the very same oneness. Right now, this is oneness talking to oneness that's looking at this on YouTube. Hi, oneness. How you doing? I know you think that you're a person over there. You're not. I swear to God. And this is where the trouble lies. So when you're trying to wake up something that doesn't exist, you cannot wake it up. And that's what we've been trying to wake up for 6,000 years. Not the ones who woke up, but the ones who didn't. And most of the ones who woke up were trying to wake that up too. All of them were trying to wake it up. Every single one. I've never, ever had anybody come to me that had any clue as to what awakening really was. Even if I sit here and tell it to you with my own lips, you'll be surprised when it happens. You can't not be, because it's just exactly the opposite of what you thought. This object doesn't wake up. This does. The space wakes up. This is what you. This unit right now is moving its hands through, we could just say, your body. That's not 1,000% true, but it's a good provisional truth. And never, underrate a provisional truth, because it'll take you toward the most truthy thing it'll take you to higher truths, higher almost truths. I can't tell you the truth, but I can show you the truth. And when I say I can show you the truth, this is oneness talking to oneness. For some reason, this lucky unit, was gifted with the ability to help itself wake up through the guise of other people. I don't know why. It's just a lucky unit. I didn't earn it. It shouldn't be mine, but it shouldn't not be mine. Just because I was always a creep and a drunkard and all of that doesn't mean that, because this could care less, because that's just about this. It's not about me. There's no me here to talk about. When I tell you I was a creep and a drunkard, I'm really talking about the behavior of this body. But this body is part of oneness. It's not independent from oneness. You will never wake this body up. And the mind you were telling, okay, so I'm not the body, I got that for it, but I know on my thoughts, though you're not that other. You can't wake up that body, you can't wake up those thoughts. Awakeness wakes up. What is awakeness? What's hearing these words right now? What's hearing these words? How are you hearing these words? Doesn't there first have to be a basic aliveness over there? Can't you feel that basic aliveness? Close your eyes. Imagine I'm putting you into a sensory deprivation tank. The senses are getting no information whatsoever. wouldn't you still know you're alive? And wouldn't you still feel like you were alive? Sure you would. I've talked to too many people been in deprivation tanks, I know. Because there's an aliveness over there, isn't there? There's an aliveness. Do you notice that? You notice that aliveness, that you can feel it? The guy that I woke up in satsang told us yesterday at satsang. I woke him up a week before, and he told us yesterday at satsang that he had found out. He said, I couldn't move into that, whatever it was, that the sense of being or something like that he was misunderstanding, or oneness or anything like that. He said, Fred, I could move into, quote, and it's just the way it feels, because that's really a misreport, but it's still, I knew what he was talking about. He said, but I could move into that aliveness. I could recognize that aliveness. And when I did, everything was sharp. See, this is alive. This is alive. You're not this with aliveness inside you. You're this aliveness with this body inside you, which also you're inside the body, because you are the body, in the sense that this body, well, forget it. Just I don't want to go too far too soon. Notice that you are already awake. Notice that in the absence of awakeness, you couldn't hear this, right? In the absence of awakeness, you wouldn't know how you wouldn't know I'm a guy with gray hair and glasses. You wouldn't know that, because you wouldn't be able to see it. You wouldn't be able to hear these words. You wouldn't be able to feel that chair that you're sitting in, or that cushion you're sitting on, or that floor you're sitting on. You wouldn't be able to feel it. You wouldn't know you're on a floor or a cushion or anything, because you wouldn't have any, because the sensory information would be falling. There would be no sensory information, because there'd be no senses, because there'd be no life there. That's what you are. You're life itself. And you're not going to find yourself. What would you find? Notice yourself. Give me directions, please, to get to my chair. Give me directions to get to this chair, please. Right now, give me directions to get to this chair. Can you give me directions to get to this chair? Anybody that's ever come to me and asked me to help them wake up has been asking me that same thing. How do I get to this chair? So if I ask you to give me directions to the chair, I imagine the first thing you point out is that, well, Fred, you're already in the chair. Fred, you're already there. You're already there. There's no way to give you directions. You're there. You're already in it. It's already happened. Now, let me tell you what my response to that would be right now, just because I'm a smart ass. Thank you. And I understand that intellectually. It's just not my experience that I'm in the chair. What the hell will you say now? Fred, I swear to you, you're in the chair. Thank you, and I appreciate your giving it your all and trying and everything, but it's not my experience that I'm in the chair. Why? Because I'm trying to wake something up. I'm trying to move somewhere else. I'm trying to have a shift for the character. Notice that the thing that notices is the thing that it's trying to notice. What you're looking with, this attention, is what you're looking for, which is awareness. It's the dog going around in a circle, chasing its tail. You can continue to do that if you want, but you don't have to, unless you do. I mean, if you do, and I certainly wouldn't want to wake anybody up that wasn't supposed to be awake. So don't come to me if you're not supposed to wake up, but you won't know until you come to me. And then if you come to me, the odds are very, very high that you will. But you may have woken up from this video because I've given you everything free here. People write me and they say, why do you charge? And it's like, man, what do I charge for? You the charge to you to talk to me, right? I mean, I was just over the car dealership here earlier today, and they don't do stuff for me free over there. But I can walk around and look at their cars. That's for free. And this is for free. And you can, and this is a do-it-yourself project. Do it to yourself project. You can wake up from this video. You can wake up from lots of videos of mine out there. People do all the time. I get emails. If you want help with it, you got to talk to me. But I mean, if you want help with it and you want to talk to me, that costs money. But my books are not expensive. Read the books and then read them again. I swear to you, people are waking up right and left. I promise. People are waking up right and left from these videos. But that doesn't mean that these people that are waking up are going to, quote, stay awake. But they never woke up anyway. They just noticed that they were already in the chair. They noticed that they were awakeness. They noticed that they are the aliveness that's looking for aliveness. It doesn't really even realize that. Aliveness is looking for its source that never turns around. The eye can't see itself. I don't want to say that the aliveness is its own source, but that's so close to the truth that it would take you a long time before you needed to know anything other than that, probably. Well, I got other stuff to do. I was going to cut a 15-minute video. I couldn't cut a 15-minute video at the point of a gun. You can get this thing cranked up, but it is hell to get it to stop. But I love you all, and come see me. Come to satsang. If you are not coming to satsang, you are missing the boat. I'm just going to tell you right now. This is the satsang, Sunday satsang with my crew. It's a room full of teachers. It's like nothing you've ever seen. I'm not just trying to pump up satsang so I can get fees. I really have enough money. But I would like to help as many people as I can. I can't talk to but so many people one-to-one, and I'm talking all I can now. I've got to get you to come into group meetings. And who knows, maybe I'll wake you up. Maybe it'll cost you $25 instead of $375, which is what it is on this day, on the 13th of August in 2018. It might be higher than that by the time you look at this. But satsang is cheap, and ask my buddy Cliff. I put something of his on the website today. You'll see, you go there and look where it says recent comments, recent notes from the field, recent notes from the field. You can see what my crew is talking about. This really does work. This really is as good as you think it is. We've been trained to believe that something that's good to be true, too good to be true, just isn't. That's not the case here. This is too good to be true. I know I wouldn't have trusted it either. But by God, by the time I was done, I would have trusted anything. Even this. I love you. See you later. Bye-bye now.